In the June episode of the Sunshine Coast Real Estate Podcast, I'll talk to Paul Haldane, the new owner of LoneWolf Baking Company in Gibsons, BC. Paul Haldane is a world-class chef of exotic origin. He moved to the Sunshine Coast in 2015 and was the chef and co-owner of Nova Kitchen in Gibsons Landing. After spending 3 years as tasting room manager at Persephone Brewing Company, Paul and his wife Jen bought the LoneWolf Baking Company, located right here in Gibsons. The only thing more delicious than his baking is his accent, and the only thing softer than his pastries are his hands. He's my down-the-street neighbour and very good friend. He's Chef Paul Haldane. Hi, Paul. Thanks for coming on the podcast.
Thanks for having me, Tony.
No worries. So jumping straight in, you're not originally from Canada. Can you tell us where you grew up and what brought you to BC?
I grew up in a little town in the south coast of England called Bexhill.
Bexhill?
Bexhill on the sea.
Bexhill on the sea.
It's on the sea, not on the, most
Similar
nursing homes per capita in all of England I grew up.
So you've gone from one of the oldest demographics in England to one of the oldest demographics in Canada.
Yeah, apparently I like old people.
Yeah, feel right in, don't you?
Who knew?
And it was on the sea, what were the beaches? Was it similar beaches to here? Or
No,
a bit different?
No, it's the English Channel. You can't see through the water. It's pretty green and there's loads of rocks. And yeah, where I'm from was not a very nice town, let's say that.
Okay.
It just wasn't an overly nice place, so I was quite happy to move to Canada.
Yeah, so when you moved to Canada, were you in Canada for a bit before you moved to the Sunshine Coast?
Yeah, we spent 6 or 7 years in Richmond, so we moved in 2009. My wife, Jennifer, she's originally from Richmond, so she'd done like 4 years. We worked together in England, lived there for like 4 years, and then she'd had enough, so we came back. Lived in Richmond for 5 years, worked downtown, restaurants and stuff.
How'd you hear of the coast? How'd you hear of the Sunshine Coast?
So Jen's mum does Girl Guides, and we used to come up to the Girl Guide camp on like work weekends, and it was like super cool. And then we were up here I think it was a spring break. There was a bunch of us. And I just looked in the local Craigslist and there was a restaurant for sale for super cheap. And I was like, whoa, the restaurant's super cheap. Maybe we'll buy a restaurant up here. And then, one thing led to another, and then we looked at housing, and back then housing was quite affordable, and we were looking at growing our family, and we had an apartment, and we were looking to move in, and then over here just made sense.
So how have you found kind of acclimatising to the Sunshine Coast? Was it hard for you to meet people and kind of make connections, or you found that pretty easy?
No, yeah, pretty easy. Like, I think work was, you meet people at work. It's the easiest thing to do, isn't it?
And you were in that industry, the food industry, right? So you knew a few chefs and stuff that were already over here and that?
I didn't really know anyone that was over at the time, but yeah, I knew a couple of people, I guess. And then you just start going about and finding people that have the similar interests. And then the next thing you know, you've got a group of people that you play poker with for 5 years in a row. I don't know, yeah.
There you go.
Yeah.
Nice. And then what do you think the best part of living on the coast is?
Gosh, it's just nice, isn't it? There's something to do most of the time. There's community's pretty nice, like
supportive and that.
Yeah, supportive, and the schooling. Like I've got 3 kids now. Like we moved here, we have 1. My kids go to school just down the street. I can let them just go there whenever and not really have to worry about it. And we shout, ring the dinner bell, and they come home. Mm-hmm. So it's more like, so it feels safer, I guess. Like I wouldn't have done that in Richmond. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's just nice. There's stuff to do.
Yeah, what I've heard is people say it's kind of like what North Van was like 15 years ago or 20 years ago.
Kind of because I was in England.
No, but yeah. For our viewers who are watching North Van, that's probably what it was like. And then what kind of led you and Jen to buying the LoneWolf Bakery? Because you were at Persephone before, right?
Yeah, I had a lovely job at Persephone Brewing Company. Really enjoyed it, but just looking for a change. And Jennifer has owned a bakery before in Richmond, before we moved here, kind of sold it when we moved here. And that was a cupcake shop and wedding cakes and loads of other cool stuff. And then I'd make bread and been making bread in restaurants for years. I also had ran a small bakery as a previous job.
That was up in Seashell, right? That was the Basted Baker, was it?
Yeah, there was Basted Baker, but before that, even in Vancouver, one of the restaurant groups had its own bakery that supplied all the restaurants. So
that was a Donnelly group, was it?
That was the Irish Heather.
Irish Heather?
Heather head of hospitality group. So we had a bakery and we used to make baguettes and breads and stuff and things. And that was fun. I've known Jacob since the previous owner, since they opened that business. In fact, when they opened a little bit before that, we had a chip shop, and in the back of my head was thinking of turning that into a sourdough bakery back then. And then he came up, and I'm glad I didn't, because he set up some really good foundation in that business. So he's run that business for 6 years, and now was looking to move away. And then after chatting to him, it kind of felt like, I don't know, kismet or fate or whatever. It was like, well, I wanted to do this 6 years ago. You've done it. I'm kind of could do with doing something by myself again. Because I've also had a cafe business that I sold, and the restaurant and whatnot. So, it just sort of felt right. I don't know, yeah.
And what do you notice, like you've been doing this for, a month now at the bakery?
Not even. I think it's like 3 weeks, 3 weeks. But it's getting, it's fun.
You're getting there. And then what's like the biggest difference between like operating a bakery as opposed to running a restaurant? A lot of
there's
the public, I guess.
No more people. So it's just a wholesale bakery. So I go in and I make bread every day. Mix one day, bake the next. It's a lot more solitary, which I'm quite enjoying. Like I've had to deal with people for my whole career, whether it's cooks in kitchens, wait staff, being a manager at any point. Like people, I love people, and anyone that knows me, I'm quite a social person, like a bit of a chat. But it is kind of nice to be by yourself. Like I'm just there, tunes on, knocking up bread. Like I really enjoy it, absolutely love it so far. So. It's a lot of work, but
yeah. So, are you like? Where do you see Lone Wolf in the next 3 years? Like, what do you see making any changes, like expanding product lines?
There's definite possibility. Like I've got some big plans that I'd like to do. Like I would, if that bakery was to bake, like I only bake 3 days a week. I'm looking at trying to do 5. But if I had a second baker and maybe a third and some more equipment, then we could, run that oven. It's a gorgeous oven, that's why I need to run it more. 5, 6, 7 days a week, and then start doing bread to Vancouver. If I can get 1 or 2 stores in Vancouver, supply, first of all, we would just go up to Seychelles and then up to Madeira. That's like next year I've got a plan of a van and a driver, and we do 5 day a week deliveries up and down the coast. And then in the third year, we go another step, and then we go into Vancouver 2 days a week as well. So that's like the big plan, and that would be... mainly breads and cookies, and we might add some other lines at some point. We do have some ideas for some classic English stuff, but yeah.
Where right now though, before that expansion, where can people get your bread?
Right now we're IGA in Gibsons, Middle Child in Seychelles, Seaweeds in Gibsons, and Fromagerie de Bay in Gibsons.
And if anyone wants to kind of carry your bread, any retail outlets or anything, is there anywhere they can get in touch with you to request that?
You can hit me on my email. It's just hello@lonewolfbaking.com.
Yeah, we'll put a link, I guess, in the
sweet, sounds good.
in the podcast links there. Anything else you want to add, kind of, as far as operating on the Sunshine Coast or anything?
Like everyone's like this community. So I had a cafe business, and it's very. I'm not realising it yet with Lone Wolf because it's only been a couple of weeks, but operating business on the Sunshine Coast seems to me like it's a community thing. Everyone wants everyone to be better and do better. There's not so much competition. Like when there's another bakery called The Farm in West Seychelles, and I used to buy the bread at Persephone. I was kind of not nervous to tell her, but like, I should tell her. But she came in and the first thing she did was, congratulations, this is awesome news. How can we, collaborate and work together, and let's not, so that sense of community around like on the coast is very, I've experienced it. I guess I have experienced it already in Lone Wolf, but definitely in the cafe business as well, and in the restaurant. So it's a nice place to run a business. It's a lovely place to live.
All right. Well, my philosophy, and this is part of the reason that you're on this week, is I normally do this with Paul Paulson. And it's less for me to remember if I've just got another Paul. So in my view, one Paul's just as good as another. So I'm wondering if you want to help me with my monthly listing segment.
Oh, what do I need to do?
You just have to ask me what I have for sale in June 2024.
Oh, I guess so. Tony?
Yes, Paul?
What do you have for sale in June 2024?
What don't I have for sale in June 2024? There's 4 I'd like to highlight this month. Thanks for asking, Paul. 813 Fisher Road is the first one. That's a beautiful view lot in Heritage Hills. It's got 2 accesses. It's got the road access and also laneway access. The lady that bought it had the intention of knocking down the existing cottage, which he did. got it ready for building, but now her life situation's changed, and so she wants to sell it and pursue other things. So that's a really good deal. Hopefully that's still available by the time this goes to air. We've got a great townhouse on Beachgate Lane in Seychelles, overlooks Seychelles Inlet, got a really nice view there, virtually brand new and very well laid out, and that one's priced to move, so I checked that one out. 1500 Vernon Drive, if that's still available when this goes to air, that's a fantastic family home. It's been dropped down to $1,379,000. I think the tax assessment's about 1.5, so those guys are motivated to sell. Great view, really good solid build, and up in Bonnybrook Heights. So, great neighbourhood and very close to Chasta Restaurant and Bonnybrook Beach. And the last one would be the new townhouse that we've got listed in Secret Cove Marina. It's a 3-bed, 3-bath, large townhome with a revenue suite or a mortgage helper built into it as well. Great light in that unit, some tasteful updates. It's a really good deal. I just want to say thanks very much, Paul, for coming in again. It's great to have you on the podcast, and
Thanks
I'm
for having
sure
me.
you're going to be super successful with the Lone Wolf, and I think it's a really good fit, and I've been enjoying your bread for the last few days, and look forward to doing that a bit more. So thanks again for coming on.
Cheers.
Thanks for watching, and if you haven't already, please consider subscribing. While you're here, maybe you want to check out one of my listings or watch my video about why you should choose me to sell your home.